The young and the restless spoilers. Audra had always prided herself on her ability to keep her emotions in check. In a world where manipulation and power games were part of the daily routine, she had learned to be calm, collected, and strategic. But as Claire's attacks grew bolder and more personal, Audra found herself struggling to maintain that same poise. The constant barrage of criticism, the whispered rumors, and the pointed jabs were wearing her down, eroding her resolve. Claire had crossed a line. What had begun as a professional rivalry had morphed into something much darker. Claire wasn't just challenging Audra's position, she was questioning her very worth, publicly tearing apart everything Audra had fought to build. And now, with each passing day, the rage inside Audra simmered closer to the surface. The whispers around Genoa City were growing louder. People were beginning to notice the change in Audra. The way her smile no longer reached her eyes, the tightness in her posture, the cold edge to her voice. There were rumors, of course, rumors that Audra had prepared something far more devastating than anyone could have anticipated. People wondered if the woman they had once admired was planning something catastrophic, something that would leave her enemies in ruins. But what no one realized was just how deep the game had gone, and how much Audra was willing to sacrifice to bring Claire down. It wasn't just Claire who was making Audra's life unbearable. There was another figure in the shadows, someone who had her own reasons for wanting Claire to fall, and her motives were far more personal. Jordan. Audra knew all too well the venom Jordan held for Claire. It wasn't just the business rivalry that had festered between them, it was something deeper, a betrayal that had scarred Jordan in ways that Audra couldn't fully comprehend. What Audra did understand was that Jordan wasn't going to let Claire's success slide without taking revenge. The woman had spent years licking her wounds, plotting quietly in the background, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The more Audra thought about it, the more she realized that Jordan's hatred for Claire was as much about vengeance as it was about power. The woman was ruthless, and now, in a way that only she could, Jordan had found a way to use Claire's past against her. The bombshell that would be dropped, the one that no one saw coming, was the identity of Claire's real mother. Jordan knew exactly who Claire's mother was, and she had no qualms about using that knowledge to destroy her. It was a secret that had been buried deep within Claire's past, one that Claire had fought so hard to protect. But Jordan wasn't going to let it remain hidden forever. Audra had heard the rumors herself, the whispers of a plan so devious that even she wasn't sure whether she could bring herself to follow through with it. But Jordan wasn't going to let up. She was already laying the groundwork for a scandal that would bring Claire to her knees. Audra knew exactly how to use Jordan's vendetta to her advantage. She had her own plans, ones that were even darker than anything Jordan had dreamed up. If Jordan was going to target Claire's family, Audra was going to do one better, she would take Claire's mother straight into the lion's den. There was one place where Claire's hidden past could be exposed, one place where the secrets of her lineage could be dragged into the light, Nice. The beautiful city, a place that had seen both the highs and lows of their lives, would become the setting for a revelation that could shatter Claire's world. But bringing Claire's mother into the picture wasn't just about revenge. It was about destroying everything Claire had built, her identity, her future, and most of all, her relationship with Kyle. Audra knew that if she could pull off this move, if she could force Claire to confront the reality of her own bloodline, Claire would be exposed for who she truly was, a woman hiding behind lies, desperate to keep the truth locked away. Claire had worked so hard to maintain her privacy, to keep the world from discovering who she really was. But now, Audra would do everything in her power to strip that all away. The plan was set into motion, and soon, Claire would face a truth she hadn't prepared for. Audra couldn't help but smile to herself, knowing that this was the moment where everything would change. It wasn't just about Claire anymore. It was about making sure that Claire was never a threat again. If Audra could expose her, make her fall from grace, she would win not just the game, but the war. There was no room for weakness in this world. And Claire, unfortunately, had just become the target of Audra's unrelenting fury. However, there was one person Audra hadn't anticipated: Kyle. the last piece of the puzzle. He had always been a constant in Claire's life, a source of strength and support. But now, with the storm of secrets and lies closing in around Claire, Kyle was more determined than ever to protect her. Audra knew that if Kyle stood by Claire, if he remained steadfast in his loyalty, her plan would crumble. But Kyle was different. He had always been more complicated than Audra gave him credit for. His loyalty to Claire was unshakable, but his heart wasn't governed by bloodlines or past mistakes. To him, Claire was Claire. No matter who her mother was, no matter what secrets she carried. When Audra realized Kyle's resolve, her plans faltered for a moment. He wasn't going to turn on Claire. He wasn't going to walk away, even if the world, even if the truth, tried to tear them apart. Audra had underestimated him, just as she had underestimated Claire. And now, for the first time, Audra began to wonder if she had gone too far. The stage was set, the players were in position, and the truth was about to be unveiled. Would Claire's world shatter, or would Kyle's loyalty be the one thing that saved her? Could Audra truly destroy everything Claire had worked so hard to protect, or would her own plans spiral out of control, dragging her down into the same chaos she had created for others? As the storm of secrets and lies began to swirl faster and faster, it became clear, nothing would ever be the same again. Let me know if you want to continue this plot or explore the aftermath of these revelations, Claire's confrontation with Audra, or how Kyle reacts when he finds out about Claire's true identity. The mystery of Claire's mother. For so long, Claire had worked tirelessly to conceal the truth about her lineage, keeping her past under lock and key. Everyone thought they knew her story, the history that shaped her. Her father, a business mogul, her place within the Newman family, her role in Genoa City's complex tapestry. But the truth was far more complicated than anyone had guessed. Victoria had always been the golden child of Victor's legacy, and Claire was the shadow that lingered, almost a mirror to her, but not quite. The Newmans had always held Claire close, but something was off. The puzzle pieces didn't quite fit, and with every layer peeled back, a new, shocking truth emerged. Victoria's suspicions and Victor's dilemma. As the truth unraveled, it wasn't just Claire who would be affected. The foundations of the Newman family were about to be shaken, especially when Victoria realized that Claire was not the child she had always believed her to be. The possibility that Claire might not be Victor's biological daughter was a scandal that no one saw coming, especially not in the way it would unfold. The loss of Claire from the family wasn't just a betrayal of trust. It was the final fracture in Victor's carefully curated empire. The walls that had kept the Newmans in their place, and kept outsiders like Claire in check, were crumbling, and no one knew who could survive the fallout. Victor, always protective of his children, was caught between his love for Claire and his desire to maintain control. It was clear that his relationship with Claire was deeper than he had ever let on. She had been a surrogate daughter, an embodiment of the family he never had, but now, with her parentage under question, his grip on her was slipping. The realization that he might lose her not because of betrayal but because of the web of lies surrounding her was something that left him rattled to his core. However, Victor had a singular focus: his family. Even with Claire's true mother revealed, Victor's one obsession was to keep his family intact, no matter the cost. But what about Claire's love for Kyle? Victor couldn't help but notice the budding romance between Claire and Kyle. This love, so pure and untouched by the complex power plays of Genoa City, threatened everything he had worked to build. Victor didn't want Claire to be swept away by Kyle, to fall in love with someone outside of his control, someone who couldn't protect her the way he could. He didn't want to see her heart broken by the complexities of life outside the Newman world. But was he protecting her, or was he just unwilling to let her go? The question hung heavy in the air. Could he justify standing in the way of Claire's happiness just to preserve his own vision of the Newman legacy? Was he truly doing this for her, or for himself? Audra's deception and Jordan's role. Then, there was the issue of Jordan. Her involvement in the entire mess was more complicated than Audra had anticipated. Audra had thought she could manipulate Jordan's hate for Claire, using her desire for revenge as a tool to bring down Claire and expose her vulnerabilities. But what Audra didn't count on was Jordan's own hidden motives that ran deeper than just a desire to destroy Claire. Jordan had her own reasons for wanting to hurt Claire, reasons tied to her own secret history. What Audra had been led to believe about Claire's mother wasn't entirely accurate. The information that Jordan had fed her was only half the truth, a manipulated version of events designed to fuel her anger and sense of betrayal. But the truth about Claire's mother was far more tangled. It wasn't Victoria, as many had assumed, nor was it Jordan, as the rumor mill would have suggested. Instead, Claire's biological mother was someone entirely unexpected, someone tied to the heart of the Newman family in ways no one could have predicted. This twist was far more personal, far more devastating. When the truth came out, it would change everything. Jordan, in her pursuit of revenge, had manipulated Audra into believing that Claire's mother was a non-entity, someone who could be easily used as a pawn. But the reality was far darker and more powerful than either woman had realized. This revelation, when it finally came to light, would send shockwaves through Genoa City. It would shatter relationships and expose the painful truths that Claire had fought so hard to protect. Claire's hidden identity and the consequences. Claire had spent years hiding her true identity from those closest to her. She had worked tirelessly to maintain control of the narrative, but now the walls were closing in. As the pieces of the puzzle fell into place, Claire found herself backed into a corner. Her carefully crafted world was falling apart, and there was nothing she could do to stop it. But it wasn't just her identity that was under threat. It was her very existence within the Newman family that was at stake. Could she survive the storm of truth that was about to hit her? Kyle, however, was unwavering. He had always been by Claire's side, and despite the shocking revelations about her past, he wasn't going anywhere. To him, Claire was Claire, no matter who her biological mother was. It didn't matter if she was a Newman or not, she was the woman he loved. Kyle's loyalty to Claire was unquestionable, and he refused to let anything tear them apart. No matter how the world tried to push them apart, no matter how many secrets came to light, Kyle stood firm. He would fight for her, even if it meant going up against the most powerful forces in Genoa City. The aftermath and the reckoning, the truth about Claire's mother, when it finally came to light, would force everyone to take a hard look at their own motivations. Victor and Victoria would be forced to reckon with the consequences of their actions, with the realization that their obsession with control had cost them the very person they had sought to protect. Nick's moral compass would be tested to its limits as he faced the fallout from his family's choices, and Sharon's relationship with him would be put to the ultimate test as she tried to hold on to the man she loved. But the real question remained: could Claire survive the truth about her past? Could she maintain her identity and her love with Kyle in the face of everything that was about to unfold? The answers were uncertain, but one thing was clear: Genoa City would never be the same. Let me know if you want to explore Claire's reaction to these revelations, the fallout between her and Victor/Victoria, or delve deeper into Kyle's loyalty and how it plays out against the backdrop of these dark family secrets.